now.
We're here.
Guys, we got Left Lane. He says, anybody out there? Just nod if you can hear me. Is anybody home? Sorry, it took us a little bit to get adjusted for a minute. So let's see. I'm going to make my screen bigger so I can actually see this shit. Okay, there. That's better.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
That's cool.
Should this be on right now? So we got a couple people on, so we're just gonna start chatting it up. How's everybody? How are you, Jake? How are you, Left Lane? Can you guys see us okay? We good?
See us, hear us?
I'm a hello.
Right? Testing. All right, cool.
Oh, happy Friday. Hi, John. Happy Friday. How's it going? How's life? How's things?
Yes.
Good. Jen, as you know, Jen's got a fantastic shirt on tonight.
Yes. If I can learn from right to left. Hardingteachings.com, right?
Hi, Jamie. How are you? It's so weird. Like it's weird because I'm always, when I'm sitting with Mitch, like I look at it from a different point of view. So I'm like, should I look at the top? Should I look at the side? Hi,
Right.
Hot Rod. Hi, your mom. How's it going?
George,
Hello, George. How's it going?
James. That's so cool.
Hot Rod. Happy Friday. As Mitch would say, happy Freedom Friday.
That's right. I saw that. I like that.
Mitch is painting right now. He's finishing up some stuff. And so Jen and I wanted to do live. We've never done a live. We've done recordings before, but we've never done a live. So hi Will, how are you?
Yes, I will.
So for those of you who don't know, and most of you do, Jen and I met. Jen, actually, I got my little, I have the time hop on my phone, and the little things that we made for your channel popped up on my phone yesterday. So you've been on for about a year.
Yeah, November, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. She's had a year. So we got to really know each other. Jen asked me to, she wanted to tell her story. And if you want to know more about her story, go to Convicted Hearts. I'll put her little tagline in there, but it's Jen. Is it Jen Magana at Convicted Hearts or Convicted Hearts backwards?
Convicted Hearts, Jen Magana. Yeah,
Okay.
I have our interviews on the playlist there. So
yeah, so check that out, because we got to be really good friends, family for sure. So that's how we got to know each other, and she came on our channel and did she did our first that was my first interview, and the only interview I've actually done was with you. And it was it really brought us super close. And when people say that you can't do that on that internet, you actually can. And I'm actually going to go, Jen and I were just talking, I'm going to go see her. I'm going to go see her during Christmas weekend.
I'm so excited, you guys. I can't wait to cook for you.
That's what I'm excited
right? I'm so excited.
Hey Matthew, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. That's really nice of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So that's my first super chat.
Yeah. Right.
So we thought we would talk tonight just a little bit about, I had told my story, basically, about how I met Mitch and everything. I did that with Louie on Grind and Pivot. I did that about a little over a year ago. And so I've never really talked. Jen and I, we did a video and we had all kinds of problems, and then we got, anyway, so we thought we would actually have that conversation live. So
why not?
Yeah, so feel free to have an opinion, because that's what it's all about. But one of the things we want to talk about was kind of like stigma and around either being in prison, being with someone in prison, being someone who's been to prison, or being related to someone in prison. I mean, there's Left Lane said, don't cook that food from the other night, Jen. Why?
Which one, Left Lane?
What are you talking about?
I made a prison spread, Adrian. You'd be so
I
proud.
saw. I didn't watch the whole thing, but how'd it go?
Did you see Ruby's reaction? I don't even want to say what she said, and of course it's pure innocence, but She referenced to the summer sausage, and that's all it tasted like. So you have to go watch. I'm not going to repeat it. She's 9, you guys.
Oh my God.
I thought it went good. Yeah.
Hey, Salvador, how are you? So it's funny. So, and that's so sweet. I met your mom. It's so funny to say that. I met him at, Mitch and I went to a bike show, and he was next door to us, and I bought some, he's a glass blower, and he made this, I bought this beautiful, it looks like a heart, and it's like blown glass, and inside of it, it has a little like fire opal. It is amazing.
Beautiful.
So I know. So he's gonna make some for my kids. I hope my kiddo don't watch this. So of course, George, I remember you. Of course I do. So anyways, one of the things we were talking about is that it's funny because I still today, even though Mitch has been out for 4 years, thank you, your mom. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Is that I still deal with that shit now. I mean, even though it's been 4 years since Mitch has been out, I still get shit for it. But it's undercover shit. It's behind my back, not in front of my face shit about, oh, do you know he went to prison? It's funny because I said a long time ago, I wanted people to get to know Mitch before I disclose that. Do you mean like people I work with and whatever? And it's funny because you can totally tell when people are like, Mitch is a likable person. Do you know what I mean? So, but you can tell when you get that shift to feel friendly, and then all of a sudden they just get quiet. Like I'll say something, Mitch did whatever. And then they're just like, nothing. And I'm like, okay, they know. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That instant wall comes up. Like
totally. Bullshit. I can't stand that. And I'm just like, if you're gonna judge someone and you don't even know why, you don't even know the story.
Right. Because especially Mitch's story, after listening to it, if somebody can still stand to judge that, it blows my mind.
Me too. Me too. It's just, you know what? I just think that it was definitely worse when Mitch and I got married. I worked at a law firm, and people were like, "Oh, you're getting married," and I was like, "Yes, I'm getting married," and they're like, "Oh," and I lied. I would say that he was a truck driver because I was like, he was in Vacaville. I worked in Sacramento. I worked at the Capitol. Hi, Frank Rizzo. And so I just was like, I'm not gonna, hi, Tegan. I just used to blow it off. I didn't even tell I didn't even tell my, Jay Ward, look at you. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Thank you, Jay. Thanks you so much. I didn't even tell my best friend because she was super judgy. She was like a little, I don't know, bougie. And so I didn't tell her. I told her after. Okay. I did tell her after, but I was like, I'm not going to say anything because it just was like, people would be like, "You're married to someone in prison," and I was like, "Yeah." You married him in prison? And I was like, "Yeah."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like that's. I can only imagine where your mind was at because that's a happy moment for you. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you don't want to really tell people that you feel and are going to judge you immediately before hearing any details,
Yeah. John, totally. So when people ask too many questions about my life, my response is always, "What? Are you a cop?" It's weird too because people are a little shady about it too. They'll be like, "Oh, like I'm so happy for you," like and for me, I was coming out of as most people know here, that I was widowed when I was about 2 years before I met Mitch, and so I would just be like, when I met him, I was like, I am not going to go. I am not writing some guy in prison. Nope. My friend was like, you got to write this guy. He needs someone. And I was like, I'm not. I'm like, here's my address. I mean, I was like, you can write me. And he did. But the thing is that, once I filled out all the paperwork and whatever, I went to go see him. He sent me flowers.
Oh my
And
God.
so on Mother's Day. And so I was like, okay, dude, I'm there. So when I met him, like literally when I walked in the room, when I walked in that visiting room, I was just like, oh shit. I'm in trouble. Like I knew that from, they say love at first sight, blah, 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 whatever. It does happen. And I was totally there. And so, but what was weird is that like every time, like when I would go see him, I dealt with one of two kinds of guards. Either they all knew him and they respected him. And so usually like it was not bad. But then you had the ones that were total assholes.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, your shirt is too low. Your shirt is too through.
Yeah.
Your pants are too tight.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is always there was like one situation, this particular guard had it out for my family, period, because of the circumstances. I mean, my brother was there for shooting a cop,
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to feel some kind of way.
Right.
But this one took it to extremes. And I literally once had the same exact pants as the girl in front of me, because you can only wear certain colors, right? So black is pretty safe. And he was like, no, you need to go change. The little trailer they have out back. What is it? Friends Next Door. Where they have
Friends outside. That's right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I have the same pants on as her and you just let her through. And he's like, yeah, they fit you different. You need to go change.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I got to wear some I'm like, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Nunyak said all women's episode, 100%. That's right. This is the first one we've done. So my personal experience was a disaster. I got fleeced, humiliated, and disrespected as a woman all the way. I don't know that I'll ever recover. I have heard some major ass horror stories. Obviously, that's why I was apprehensive. When my friend asked me to write to Mitch, I was just like, you know what? Like I was coming out of I was a widow. It was a totally abusive relationship. I was just like, I don't know. So once I kind of got the feel that Mitch was a different bird, then obviously it was fine. But I had a friend of mine that she literally wrote to a guy. She got him off her like this shit blows my mind. Like Mitch and I were watching TikTok the other night. Well, I was watching TikTok. I made Mitch watch it. And hi Jen, how are you? I was watching TikTok and they had these freaking inmates on. I think it was I want to say, I don't know if it was Texas. It was definitely not California.
Yeah.
Maybe Oklahoma. And they had you know how they go on like their wall units, they have like like you FaceTime your phone calls.
Yeah.
And these guys were like, hey, my name's Mark. My number's Steve, blah, blah, blah. And you want to hit me up and my JPay is.
Damn. Didn't hold back, huh? Went straight for the JPay. Okay, Mark, we see you.
I just was like, what the hell? And so I was like, it's come a long way. So my friend, she actually went on a pen pal site, started talking to this guy. He got out like a month later. It was all bad. And like everything. And I watched this girl just go through it. And she's been a friend of mine for a long time. And I couldn't tell her nothing. Do you know what I mean? So, I was like the stuff he was telling me, I was just like, Mitch didn't like him from the get-go. Well, and once his intuition kicks in, he's like, I'm out. Like I go, he's all that's your friend. That's your friend.
Your people. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. But yeah, those the guards in there were just like, I mean, it was humiliating. Like one time, Mitch and I, was after we were divorced, and I was on a family visit, and they found out that we were divorced.
While you were there?
Nick did.
Oh,
And his
man.
counselor called. So it was like day 2. His counselor called and said, he said, "Hey, Smiley," he goes, "you didn't tell me you were divorced." And Mitch goes, "Oh, well, I didn't think it went through or whatever." He goes, "Well, it did." And he goes, "And your visit is now done." And he said, "I tried to get you guys to just at least stay the whole time." He said, "But the captain or whatever was like not having it." So Mitch was at Donovan. And so I literally, they normally, they come get you and they drive you in a van back to like where you check out, basically, like hotel.
Yeah.
But just much different. You have to show your license to shit. Anyways, they they made me walk from
all the way down there, right on the border.
Yeah, and so I'm at Donovan, and there was like 2, I'm going to say like solitary yards out there, and these guys were out there in their boxers and their wife beaters, and I was just literally, it was like the walk of shame. Like I was literally walked with my head down, and I was, and they were catcalling, saying all kinds of shit, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't have a phone. That was like, I left my cell phone. That was those big old portable phones. And so I had to remember Mitch's mom's number by heart. Thank God I did. But I was like, you gotta come get me. And so, but they made me walk out there. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Terrible.
And then you can be, hi Denise. You can be an upstanding citizen, and but they will make you feel like you are like the scum on the bottom of someone's shoe.
Yeah, can't you just feel it radiating from certain people? Like it
totally
all over them. Like their whole face just is in judgment.
It is, and it's just like and the way they look at you, they just look at you like they look at you like you're scum.
Yeah,
like you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Underwire. John said underwires galore in the parking lot. Oh my God, that is so.
Oh wow,
that is so true. I never thought about that.
John, I had to do this. Kern Valley, early 2000s. I couldn't pass through the metal detector, so they used the wand, and bing, it's going off right there. So I had to go back out to the parking lot and do that myself. So yeah. It happens.
You know what, John? I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Hey, Denise, thanks for subbing. That's awesome. Thank you.
Right, Denise.
Hi, Dawnette. So Dawnette just came on. She's one of my really good friends. I've known her since I was like, Dawnette, would you say like 14, 15, something like that. She's a lifelong. She's a keeper, that one. Roger said, "Hey folks, still not back home yet. But good news, we should be able to take our little guy home next week. It's been a tough road, but things are looking up for us." I'm glad, Roger. Mitch has been talking about you, so her prayers go to you, and I'm glad you guys are looking up. I'm glad things are looking up. But yeah, it's been it's so, and again, it doesn't matter. Like you can. And a lot of it, it wouldn't even have to do with like the color of our skin or the color of the guard skin or whatever. It was literally just like, I think any woman that I felt like they were just like any woman that comes up here to see an inmate's a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe, I picked up on too. Even if they don't know the situation, if you're a relative or they just see, okay, why are you here to see this guy? What? And I'm just saying this, some of them almost look at you like, what does this guy have that I don't have?
Yeah. You know what? And then that was another
not even about that, but
is that there was once in a while, like, of course, I didn't say anything to Mitch at the time, because I was like, I'm just gonna not start any shit. But it wasn't uncommon for them to hit on you. You know what I mean? Like, and so they'd be like, oh, are you here to see Smiley? Do you know what I mean? It's like it was just like,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And I never said shit because I was like, Mitch taught me along like really early in about how gossip or making accusations, whether it's true or not, can get people killed in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole smutting someone up can go really far.
100%.
I think that's a great example. What you just said is that he taught you long ago. Like, don't you feel that's so important to teach your spouse or loved one kind of the ins and outs? Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think, like I always think about, Mitch hadn't been out. He hadn't been home very long. And, he's told the story before, but we were in Placerville, walking down the street, minding our own business. And I felt it coming. Like I saw this guy walking towards me with his phone, and he was looking down like this, and he was like right in front of me. And I was like, shit. And I couldn't move because Mitch was standing next to me. Mitch was on the other side of me. And the only place I could really move was the street. And so just as I was thinking, where am I going to move? Like he literally, bumped into me and I fell in the street, and I looked at Mitch and I was just like, it's fine. Like, and Mitch was like, what the fuck? And like, he just like, started like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm like, babe, that's with his family. That he's with his family. And he's like, you're my family. Like, I'm not going to let somebody,
Right.
I said to him, I said, this shit happens all the time. Where you used to live, that was like a matter of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to respect people's space.
Out here, I was like, these people are so disrespectful, and it's just the way it is. Not that you have to like it or whatever, but it is, it is the way it is.
And that's another thing I would be like, well, I am feeling that way too. Like in the future, when my loved one or loved ones come home, the adjustment of what the world is like is going to be a huge issue. So
it is. Like, I just think it's so Roger K, love you guys. Give our best to the wife too, okay? Pay it forward when you can. That's right, sweetie. Love you guys. Hi Jojo AC, how's it going? Yeah, it's I feel like we have to kind of lead them that way. Like we have to, because there's still moments I always say when the ghetto girl comes out in me, like I have this, like if some, like at work, for instance, if someone's super rude to me or whatever, my shit is I really have to, like, I have to check myself and be like, oh, I'm at work.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Because I think that's a natural state for us to be in.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like you are, we have that in common. You have a very protective instinct about you.
Yeah.
When it's somebody you care about and love. So,
absolutely.
I mean, I get it.
Like, I mean, it's even if you hear somebody just like, I mean, especially in the climate that we're living in now, I feel like if you, people are so sensitive to everything. And so I feel like if you don't, people have these assumptions anyways about guys in prison, blah, 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 people in prison, women in prison. I mean, so I think that it's just, and people make assumptions that they don't know anything about. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what happened. I mean, Mitch is a perfect example. The fact that, he went in at 17. It's not like he went in at, whatever, So,
exactly. The whole breakdown of it is just, I think that's a great, like, example of, it's so true that people have a judgment immediately.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, I think, when we spoke, but I'll say it again. Some of the most loving relationships that I know in real life are 3 people, and that is women who are married to men that are or were formerly incarcerated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that a lot of it is bullshit that people like, there are some people that obviously it doesn't turn out well.
Sure.
But I had I think the thing for me was that I had to get to know Mitch on a I was 22 years old, so I'm in my prime. Do you mean like I meet him? He was 28, and like we were having and so we were like having this conversation, and that's all we could do, right? So that's what you do, right? So we wrote letters, and we, had this like face-to-face connection. But I did feel, I've said this too, I did have this weird feeling like, it's like being married and single at the same time. Because when you're 22 and you go out with your friends and whatever, not that you're out like a hoe or whatever, but like you're out and you don't have that person to go home to, right? Like you're not like, and people again make all kinds of assumptions, like, oh, she hasn't had it for a long time, that kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? And so when I met him, I really felt like we were totally connected. Like I was like, I've never felt this way about someone before, never.
Right.
So, when he asked me to marry him, that was easy. You know what I mean? I was like, that was a no brainer for me.
So it was like an instant.
It would totally was, and I was really like, I wasn't trying to find stuff wrong with him, but I was like, what's his angle? What's his game? Like, what is it? Because that's my kind of, like you said, like you're protective. That's my first line of defense always. It's like, what are you trying to do? What's your game? What's your scam? What are you trying to, you know what I mean? So he was like, girl, like I'm, you know what, like what you see is what you get. So, but it was just like, I just felt like it's pretty sad that 30 something years later, I still feel those judgments. And sometimes I feel like people are waiting for you to fuck up.
Yeah. They're those ones that sort of stay close to you just so they can monitor how things are going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They just keep tabs long enough to know that you're, just to
told you so.
Yeah, just to see what's going on. So it's crazy. And the thing is that, I used to always get this thing. People would be like, I'm out here and I'm not in prison. And why wouldn't you want, why do you want to be married to someone in prison when you have all this out here? I'm all this out here. I mean, I was like, there's not a lot to, let me tell you. They're either married or they're gay. I mean, so, and so I was like, I felt myself like really fortunate, and people, the assumptions that people make, like they're going to use you, they're going to take your money, they're going to blah, blah, blah. Mitch was, I was a single mom and I struggled. I mean, I lived on my own and from a really young age, and he helped me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he would send me money, and, he was my rock. Like when I would be stressed out, I tell him this now. I'm like, I don't know how you ever put up with my shit. Because I would be like, do you know what happened at work? Like I drive all the way there to go see him. I'm like, oh, bitch, at work, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, he listened.
God bless him. Yeah. You guys are definitely the exception to the rule. You know what I mean? As far as it goes with like you said, hi Harvey. He really was your rock, like cared for you, you know what I mean? High life for you. And I think that I've seen a few relationships like that where it's not him, hitting someone up for money, or it really is working almost like an old-fashioned relationship where he is doing the best to be like the caretaker or the provider despite the circumstances.
100%. Like he was definitely like, I would bounce shit off him all the time. You mean about like, it was really funny because he used to ask me to bring in our, when we'd have family visits, he'd be like, I want to see what the grocery bill's like. And I was like, okay. So I'd bring it to him. He was like, what the hell? Like, that was $200 or whatever. Hi, Akira. And so I would just be like, oh shit. So like that stuff was fascinating to him. Jimmy, like he was like, really, like gas costs that much, like whatever. Well, obviously cell phones changed that. I mean, because once he got one, he went down the rabbit hole with that shit quick. Like I would call him and he'd just be like, wow, I saw this thing, on whatever, and he was just fascinated with all. But that's the kind of nice thing now is I feel like I look at things through a different set of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where we get super jaded, he's not. And so I feel like I have a kind of different perspective on
Mm-hmm.
things. But I don't like, and I don't think it's obviously something I'm gonna. Hi, David. I don't think it's something we're gonna change overnight. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that the more that people actually get to know someone through channels like Mitch's,
Yeah.
through channels like yours,
Mm-hmm.
will, and most of the freaking genre will, people are like, oh, you know what? They're not like total fucked up. So they're not
Mm-hmm.
like out there to take your
Yeah.
guns or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that's just something, though. I mean, that people just make an assumption.
Yeah. And then there's those that do notice, okay, this guy's different. He's extremely kind. You
Right.
guys very giving and helpful and loving
Yeah.
friends. And there's those that take advantage of that. You know,
100%. And that's the good thing is that I think he's very much like, I'm the one who's like if somebody's like, hey, Mitch, can you whatever? He'd be like, oh, this guy said whatever. And I'm like, do you know that? Like, you know what I mean? Like he takes everybody at face value.
yeah. Yeah.
More, you know what I mean? And it's funny because as much as you wouldn't use the term naive with Mitch,
Mm-hmm.
there is things in life when he first got out that he totally was. You know what I
Right.
mean? Right?
Yeah.
And so,
That's his character. Yeah.
and that you would think his position would be like, I'm going to be on guard with everyone, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to. It's the total opposite. I'm like that, and
Mm-hmm.
he's much more like, hey, what's shaking? What's going on? So
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
almost like it's great to see that because you really don't see that in people these days, like
mm-mm.
that excitement about the small things, or
It is like
you know what I mean.
he's like, are we going to go on the toy run tomorrow? And
That's
like,
so cool.
it is. It's really neat. Like, I just love to see it. Hey, Tashanka, how are you and Amy? How's it going? Tell her I said, is she feeling better? Have you guys figured out what's going on? Um, so yeah. So anyways, I don't know if you guys want to jump in or whatever, but I just think, uh, it's a lot different, again, too, Mitch and I only, we could only talk on the phone so long.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was hard to keep that, when he was close, that was obviously really easy for me to go
Mhm.
through. But
Yeah.
as he got further and further away, and we knew he was going to get out.
Yeah.
Like it is funny, especially at 22, I did have a lot of people in my ear all the time.
Oh, I'm sure that.
Because we're
Yeah.
like, no, why would you marry someone that's in prison? Why
Mhm.
would you like put yourself in that position? I don't know. It was like, it was very, it was stressful when I was young. It wouldn't be that stressful on me now. It's
Mhm.
not that stressful on me now. But when
Right.
people would do that back in the day, I'd just be like, wow. Like it was kind of intense sometimes,
Yeah, I bet it was. That was something that I was curious about actually. When obviously when he asked you to marry him, you said yes. Did you in that moment like realize, like accept, because at first, I mean, he had a life sentence, right? So did
Yeah,
you accept this is it? Like, and I'm okay with that.
I did. Denise is Mitch still busted? No, he's been out for 4 years, but he did 38 years in prison and got out 4 years ago. So yeah, I never. Uh, it was fine until they took away the family visits. When
Okay.
they took away our family visits, I used to always say,
Mhm.
you know, we'll be good as long as we have these. Like as long as we have these. And at that time I was like 24, 25.
Mhm.
But I just was like, it got really stressful and really, and Mitch started going to that place of like, I want you to be happy. I want you to like, I'm never getting out of here.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. And it was heavy on both of us. I mean, and so we just kind of, you know, uh, but we always came back together. Like we would like not talk, then we
Have a
would. We
moment.
would not
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, it was just like this, you know.
I think
But I
that's understandable. Yeah.
yeah, but I always felt a real I, towards before he got out,
Mhm.
um, you know, for those of you who don't know, my daughter had this really big fear that he wasn't going to get out. That like we all thought he was going to die in there.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know how else to say it. So the thing was, hi Jeff, was that, she sat when he was going to get out, he wrote her and said, I'm getting out. And she literally sat on that letter for 2 months. And I was like, why are you not going to open it? And she was like, I think it's bad. She's like, I don't want
Well,
to open it. And
Bill,
so,
yeah.
yeah. And so, when she did, she's like, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, he's getting out. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
I was like, it was just the craziest thing that I just never thought that was gonna happen. But the thing is that it's dark enough for people to not be supportive,
Mhm.
when you have someone,
Mhm.
inside. And a lot of people, what I found also was I was friends with, Mitch introduced me to his best friend's wife, who was
Okay.
a lot older than me at the time. So I was like
Mhm.
24 and she was like 20 years older than me.
Okay.
And she was Kathy Lima was her name. And she kind of like showed me the ropes, like we were talking about. Like she was like,
So she
don't
laced
talk
you
about
in.
it, don't blah blah blah. Like don't um but she was totally like a mom figure to me 100%.
Yeah.
And she was very much like schooled me about because I would be really nervous going. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know. Mitch didn't know. You know what I mean, like what to do and what not to do as you're standing out there in line. I used to freaking talk to everybody out there. And then Mitch was like, you know what I mean? And I mean, I didn't say anything,
Yeah.
but then I was like, okay. He's like, you don't know why their man's in here. You don't know whatever. So then
Right.
I would just, he's like, just listen. Like
Mhm.
if you just listen to what people have to
Oh
say out
yeah.
there, you're going to find out all kinds of shit.
Yes. That's some great advice because girl, the things I would overhear. And a lot of times I was wondering about this too, because I've heard from different people, like sometimes, there'll be like these little groups or cliques like that ride up together.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so I was even asked before, hey, do you want to ride together? But we live in the same town.
yeah,
Never, that was one thing that I was told by my brother from the jump. Don't you ever get in a car with someone right up here. Same thing. You
right,
don't know who your relative is, what their
right.
intentions are. They're going to know where you live. They're going to know your full name. They're going to, none
Yeah,
of. And thank God I never did that. But I know a lot of people do that, and then they share information, and it's just a very fine line. I
yeah,
feel like it's a. I try to keep, being that I do have someone that I care about that's still incarcerated. I try to keep his personal information somewhat,
absolutely.
other than what's public record, somewhat
Yeah,
private, because I mean he's still doing his time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like you can't, hi, DC.
Maybe.
Donette, you are a true believer about treating people the way you want to be treated. And Donette is seriously like one of the
Really.
sweetest people I know. And she would, yeah, she's amazing. But she always says that. But she is real good too about like if you're gonna be not good to her,
Mhm. Okay, good. She's got a good eye for it. Yeah.
she's good with that. So,
You're
yeah, like if you don't like, and the thing is, again, it goes back to the same thing, right? About how people get killed over shit like that in there, right? And
Yeah.
so if you're standing outside and you're like, I would hear some heinous shit out there. Like people would be talking about how they were cheating on their man with this guy and that they had to come up there to get money from whatever. Like it was just like I was like, what
Wow.
the? So I would never say anything if it was not our crew, so to speak. But
Mhm.
if I was standing in line and that was like one of Mitch's friends or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah, I would be like, But also, if I knew the person was a hothead and had no idea, I might say, I was like, I'm going to give you this information. You do with it what you want.
Yeah. That puts you in a really
You
bad
know, you
position.
know better than I about how you want to deal with that. So,
Right.
all right, bye, Mom. I'll see you on the 15th. Bye.
By your mom.
But yeah, I think that shit was crazy. Like just listening to some of it, and then like, yeah. I mean, back then too in the 80s, that shit was like late 80s, early 90s. That shit was just off the hook. I just was like, these chicks are crazy. Like,
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't talk about that side of it. Honestly, a lot of people immediately be like, okay, these guys are going to use you and they're going to, but there's actually a lot of those men that fall victim to women that
oh
are
yeah,
preying on their situation.
yeah. And one of the things too that was really common. So I'm gonna say Mitch and I were married in '88, so like early '90s, and this used to really trip me out. Is that back then it was real common, and for like bikers to be married to dancers and to uh people much younger, right?
Okay.
Like we're talking like, really wide age differences,
Yeah.
And so I used to always trip out on people coming in there, and they would be talking about like just scamming people. You mean, and that was not, I would say, honestly, at that time, it was about like 50%. Like it wasn't just like a small percentage. Like there was the people that had been with their men for a long time, like whatever. And then the thing that used to trip me out too is when he would be married, and then they would have like 5 girlfriends that would come up and see them, and I would just be like, "What the?" And then of course I feel terrible because when I see, it wasn't their wife that was there, right? And so I would go, and then I would see their wife like 2 weeks later, and I would just be like, "Oh my god!"
See, and that's what I'm talking about. There was one time in a visiting room where, thank God it wasn't us. We knew better at our little table, but the table next to this other couple.
Yeah.
And the guys had to have been, I mean, friends or whatever, friendly. And one of the females gets up and tells the other female, "Oh, I love your hair. You dyed it blonde. I liked it dark too, but that was not the same woman." And it was on and popping. She knew it must have been something she suspected already, but I was like, "Good Lord."
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And Christopher, thank you. You know what? I didn't used to believe in that. I used to believe that was just like, that was something that I wanted, but I was never going to have. And so, yeah, we would have, I totally believe in that. I totally believe that we would have found each other. And so it's funny because Mitch was born in San Jose. I lived in San Jose for a long time. So that's always my go-to with him is I was like, even if we didn't meet in there, I said, if you never went to prison, who knows that we wouldn't have. Do you mean? I was like, we totally might have. So, yeah. Ryan said, were the wives cool with them hanging out with multiple girls? No.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
There might be a rare, I don't know, maybe not a wife, but a girlfriend or
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think, I think it's, kind of like the what is that? Like in the Italian, like, how they used to have a Goomba. I think that's what they used to call them. Is that you would have a Gaman, or something like that. They would have, that was that was just expected that they were going to have a mistress.
Yeah.
That was the thing back in the, like, whatever, 60s or whatever, 70s. But I'm just like, hi, Mark, how are you? That was the thing back then. And I just thought to myself, if I'm going to spend all this time and this investment, I mean, it's an investment enough when you're in a relationship, right? And then you're going to add that onto it. It adds just a special layer of love for that and care for that person, right? You're really investing your time, your money, yourself. I mean, and so when you see that, I'm like, that's, to me,
that would be very hurtful.
That would be terrible. I mean, can you imagine like being married to somebody for 20 freaking years, when they go to prison, and then you find out that they have, I saw this TikTok the other day that showed they oh, Ryan, those words are very interesting.
They would have, well Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works. You know what? You know what? The funny thing is, that's actually interesting you said that because back then I think it was more accepted. Like it was just like, you know what? Like people be like that's where that saying. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying. Well, that's my main squeeze. That means that
Oh, I never thought about
other squeezes.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know what I mean? And like that was supposed to be a compliment back there, right? Like, oh, I'm your, you know, your
I'm not sharing my squeeze with anyone. No. Place, girl.
Oh my God. So yeah, so I just
sorry. Maybe that didn't come out right, but you know what I mean. Damn it.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, I think that I saw this TikTok the other day, and this lady was, yes, everybody, I'm addicted if you don't know that already. So she was a guard, and she said, you know, this is what happens when you call me a bitch. She goes, I make sure that I organize a visit with you, and this was to a guy, to you and your boyfriend
What?
on the same day.
That is a whole new level of pettiness. Wow.
I know. I was like, you know what? I don't think you're supposed to be doing shit like that.
You could really set up something a lot bigger to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just thought that was kind of
that's crazy.
Interesting. There's a famous story about one of the hiring. He asked the guy, did he love his wife? And he said, yeah. And the hiring one said, I hope you love me more than you love your wife. Yeah, that's another thing too. You know, that goes along with clubs and, you know, different things. Those things come first. You know what I mean? So, and it has no secrets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody had to have a position and stay in it, right? And that
role. Oh, Mark, thank you. That was actually a picture the picture I put up of me and Mitch. That was actually my daughter for my birthday. She had those taken of us. So
that was a beautiful picture. Yeah,
that's so weird. I'm so not used to like hitting all these buttons. It's kind of just
right. It's fine.
I'm all see. I didn't say hit the like button. I just said just, you know, yeah. So it's easy. You just click it, and you know, there it goes.
Right.
Hi, Jose. How are you?
Yes.
Hey. You're right. Christopher said most in the free world will never find that. You guys compliment each other and complete. Totally. I agree. You know, it's not all. You know, it took Mitch also trying to adjust to like, he's never had a thing about like, I don't think, you know, that person respects me, or I don't think that person whatever because I've been a prisoner or whatever. Yeah. But you know, the biggest concern to him really was more familial. It was like really his concern was more about that, like with our kids and our grandkids, and like how you when do you talk about that, right? Because our grandkids don't know. I mean, so like when, or do you, or you know what I mean? And so I think that's more, but I think it's more of a adult concern than it is a kid concern.
Yeah.
So we're just going to let that evolve the way that's going to, you know. But right. I thought it was a good idea to tell her when she was 4 that he was at work, and that didn't really work out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ruby caught on to me the other day, and she knows Uncle's not at Disneyland anymore. So she's
he's been at Disneyland a long time. Yeah.
Come on, Mom. What? And I told her, I said, well, I just, you know, I didn't think she'd know prison, so I just said he's in jail, honey.
Yeah.
And she said, what did he do? You know.
Yeah.
And I just said he did something very bad that he's very sorry for. And she just in her innocence says, oh, okay. And went on about her, you know, thank God.
Yeah, you know, that's another thing too. I think that it was really hard. That was something that was really hard to him too, was with Nicole, was that it was like very much you know, when our daughters want to follow in our footsteps, and they want to maybe not but they're not so lucky to connect with people that are as fantastic as Mitch is. It's funny because Mitch asked her like one time, like, what do you like? Why? Like, what do you like? What is it you want to do? You know what I mean? It's hard just because my situations, I feel like it's unique, and and I feel like that was a hard. It's like like I'm not going to sit here and deny that the fact that it was not a little bit attractive, the fact that Mitch was a bad boy. I mean, because I was like, that's what I like. That's what I mean. So, I used to tell him, everything about you is, if I had a list and I was going to say at that age, like, what is it that you want? I said, you fit every single one of those things, except you have to go in freaking prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cute.
It's funny. But, I think, again, I just think the more people are educated and the more people, the more people. It's funny because a lot of people reach out to on this channel that they've never been to prison, they never whatever. So it's an interesting, like Mitch likes it. Like he's like interested in like what they want, what they're asking, and how they're what's coming up, because for him that's where he lived his whole life, right? So
I've seen that. I've witnessed it on your Wednesday night lives.
Yeah. People be like, what do you mean when you say this thing or whatever?
Yeah, I've seen people in the comments say something like, I don't know how I found myself on this channel, but I'm really into it.
How this should end up on my feed.
But there, you know what I mean? Like there's such an inspirational like feeling and vibe to it. Like people connect. And that's important to show. It does show people like, hey, we're all human. Like
and I agree.
Different ways of coming up or different situations in life, but look, we're all human.
Yeah, it's not just like a mugshot. Like you actually get to know, they're them. And another thing, Mark just said, "Kiss me stronger than you think." That's that is 100% true. But I think sometimes you're right, and I made decisions like not saying certain things to her about him, Jimmy, because not negative, but I mean, just we didn't talk a lot about the fact that he was in prison. I mean, so when we would go see him, we just enjoyed our time together. She wasn't tripping on the fact. Again, she was young, but she wasn't tripping on the fact that there was bars that we had to go through. She knew that she'd be like, oh, she got candy when she would go in the thing, and people were always really, really nice to her, and so it wasn't a bad experience for her, and she doesn't remember it as being
negative thing.
As being negative. But I think the thing too is that I think what's hard, one of the hard things is that if you have the way that things are set up in prison in order for people to survive, right? That's why it's so rape coded, and you know what I mean, like all of that. And everyone makes an assumption, and not now since Mitch has had this channel, but definitely before that, Mitch was he was racist, and he would be like, and I'd be like, why? Because he's white and because he has tattoos. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, that I'm Hispanic, that blah blah blah, and so but it was that assumption was one that was made by, I would say, 90%, even people that were related to made that assumption about him.
Yeah, they just assume that, especially I think coming out of California prison, like people automatically assume that, and without saying anything more, they have no understanding of yours or my family dynamics and how diverse they are.
Right, that's that's true, and I feel like that was one of the biggest ones that it's hard because like it's something as simple as, if I'm having a conversation with you about somebody that's Asian, right? I might just say, hey, Jen, my friend George said blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say, hey, Jen, my Asian friend that blah, 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 right? And so where people don't understand that when someone that's been in prison for a long time says that, They're not saying that as that's how in there,
You're
they
identical.
would, that's how they would describe someone. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's,
So
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's basically, it's like, I mean, he was there since he was 17, right? That's
Yeah.
how he was raised. That's how you describe, oh, it was this guy or this friend
Right.
or this
Right.
whoever. It's part of describing someone that they, you know what I mean, we're there with. It's nothing
Yeah.
personal or,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, yeah. So it was weird how that would just, so people would make the assumption because he'd say, "Oh, so and so, you know, that Asian dude, whatever." People would be like, you know, and I was like, it's not like he's over here saying, "Oh, that guy's a piece of shit" or whatever. I was like, he's just making, that's how that, there's a separation in there, and that's the way that separation is made.
You know what it is to me, Adrian? I honestly, like, think about any great book you've ever read.
Right.
When they're describing someone, they go into detail and describe, maybe this Hispanic person,
Right.
or this, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's no different.
It's no different. It is just, don't you think that's weird though, that people just, just because if I say that term that you are, or whatever you're referring to, that they're just going to make the assumption that you're racist.
Yeah. No, you can see when someone is outright racist, and that's never been the case here, like, at all. So yeah, it's just telling a story. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife shot me down the first time I asked her. I forgot about her. And I was in the bar one night. The guy was choking a girl and choking my gosh, we've been together ever since.
Oh,
that's so sweet. Yeah, Amy's a keeper. Amy's a keeper. And you know what? As much as people, I love the fact when people, hot rods, saying that you got to have a good woman. And you know what? It is just important for us to have a good man. I mean, so, you got to have the, yeah, it's just, and it's especially now, you can say the most gentlest thing with good intention. And I mean, it blows my mind. That is one thing I don't like to watch TikTok for. Like, I really just try to move through that, it is just so charged.
Yeah, it really is, right?
My
daughter totally too, they would be like, "Mom, don't get into that. It's so, like, people tear each other up." Like,
and they have all those investigators. Hi, Poacher, how are you? We thought we were internet sleuths. Like, you look at TikTokers, and man, they like devote their entire life to looking at people
blow by blow. Yeah.
And their whatever, and doing their timelines with pictures and whatever. I'm like, yeah, they don't need detectives anymore.
Right? I noticed that. Yeah.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Hi, Peter.
How are you? I hope you're doing good. Let's see. It was just why the prison systems are set up with all. I'm just trying to make our day. Yeah, that's one thing that was so crazy. With Mitch, is Mitch would be like, when I first met him, I think he was like, he had 15 to life, right? So he had done 8 when I met him. So so we were thinking, it's not that far, down the road or whatever. But then when you start getting the 9, 10, 11, and that day becomes more, it's like what they say, it's like the dangling carrot, right? They just keep moving the carrot. And like, it's just like how can you expect someone to sustain themselves in some kind of way to be a citizen if you're just dangling the carrot.
Right. I mean, I feel like you have to give people some type of hope,
Hi, Salvador. Yeah.
Hi, Salvador. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You totally have to give them some type of hope. And
the family visits, like, I feel like, I mean, and I'm just stating my opinion, it's none of my business, but I feel like that would be so beneficial to keep families intact.
It really was. Like, Mitch used to have, before we got married, he had, his mom would come out there for family visits so Mitch got to eat food. They got to communicate, not with cops on them all the time. It's the only time that you feel that you have a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So someone already
Definitely.
said, well, you know, Jen, the Mexican girl.
Oh, good, Mark.
Every time I leave from this country at the same time the prison industry grew. Yeah, I did. It is. You know what? Yeah, that's a whole another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that was the only normalcy we had. And so I used to always tell people, if people make assumptions, you've all seen Mitch talk about that, where he's pretty protective about that, says,
Of course.
it's not just go to the boneyard, it's not whatever, like that is the only time. And there, no, lie, that is totally part of it. I mean, but it's not, that is all it is. I mean, so, I mean, you got to eat and, like sleep sometimes. So we would take our daughter out there. And, but I will say, yeah, you don't want to miss anything. And you think 2 days is a long time. 48 hours is not that long.
No, I bet.
Especially when you only get it every 3 months. So we would stay up to like 4 in the morning, and then I would be like, oh my God, when they said I'd have to take a nap because I was like, I just, it was crazy. But I think, at that time too, they were totally decent to us. Like, they would come out, they did count and all that, but they didn't harass anybody. They were totally good to Nicole when she would go out there and she was little. And I felt like there was just a different level of respect. And I felt like that at most places. And I knew a lot of that was because I was married to Mitch. I mean, but it was like, you can't fake it in there. Who you are as an individual, not an individual, or being part of something like you. That's something that you can't hide. So I feel like wearing that for so long, I thought that Mitch would really be jaded by that when he came home. But thank you so much too, Baba. Thank you so much. I always thought that would be a thing when he got out. Like I don't know what I thought, but I was like, Mitch is going to have all these roadblocks, and what is that going to be like for him? But to be honest, he really acclimated pretty easily. Jimmy, you know what I mean? But I will tell you, the one thing that did surprise me, and I felt like he didn't really know how to react at first, is that when we went to we would go to, he wanted to tattoo, right? And so he was like, I'm good at it. I've been doing it, this long. So we would go to these places in like Venice Beach or whatever. And these younger, like adults, weren't kids by any means, would look at him like he was like a piece of shit. They would just be like, and I wanted to like so react to that, and then
to gouge their eyes out.
Yeah, and and Mitch was like super respectful and not going in there. He'd be like, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Hi, Start. How are you?" He was super respectful, and so I just saw. I was like, ugh, like I didn't like that at all, and I don't even think he really noticed it. Because he wasn't used to those kind of dismissiveness. That's what I think really it was. It was just like, I'm the shit, and I can't learn something from somebody else, and I'm just too good for anybody. So, yeah,
I bet that would be difficult for sure, and for you to even watch it from the outside, like watching people react to him that way had to be hard.
It was, and I don't think he noticed it because again, it was new to him, right? He was just in there introducing himself or whatever. And then, but I thought to myself, ew, like any other time that, when I was young, like I wanted to get tattooed by somebody who had experience, who somebody was older than me, that whatever. Now I feel like they all think they're the best tattoo artists of the world, and they don't look up to anybody, and they just think they're the shit, and that they have no room to learn. And I feel like if you ever get to the point where you feel like you can't learn anything new, you're kind of done.
You got issues. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I
Definitely
mean?
do.
I mean, I want to be always learning the older that I get. Like I still feel inside, I'd say I feel like I'm in my early 30s. Like that's the way I feel on my inside.
Yeah.
And so I feel like uh I feel like, Mitch helps me with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, but I don't know. Like it's different. The whole like treat your elders different. That whole thing's,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like I could see that in you guys. Like there's always something new to learn and there's an
There
excitement,
is.
and we
There's
should
new
step up. We
experiences,
should always learn.
new things to learn. It's funny because I traveled a couple of years ago. I traveled quite a bit. I went to Cozumel, I went to Haiti, I went like all over. And what I thought to myself was interesting is I always wanted to travel,
Mm-hmm.
but after doing that, I thought to myself, it's great that you can see other places and whatever. That's great. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not knocking anybody for doing
Yeah.
that, but really, I feel like you don't always have to go somewhere. If you're always chasing, like, I want to go to this place because blah, 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 or I want to go over here, it does broaden your perspective on how other people live, but it doesn't necessarily really enhance your life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's true. A lot of times it's basically a photo op. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there. I was there.
Yeah. I just read something the other day that somebody was like, they went to this beautiful island. They were like, it was amazing. I think they went to, it was like, they went to Bermuda or something like that. They're like, it was amazing. I know they're the Bahamas. And she's like, the whole time people were there, all they were doing was filming and Instagramming and whatever. They're like, you're not even there.
Right. That's why. Yeah, that makes so much sense. That's why these stand-up comedians, well, I'm sure it's for other reasons too, so their content isn't shared outside of their shows. But I've heard, I think it was Kevin Hart, I heard they take people's phones, when they go into a
Yeah.
comedy. He's like, I want you to experience it with your own eyes, not through the lens of the camera on your phone. It absorbs into your brain differently,
It totally does. Like if you look at look at when you see people poacher, that's right.
Yeah.
When you look through a lens and you're looking through a lens at the world, you're seeing it through that. You're not seeing it through your eyeballs. You're seeing it in a distorted view. And I think people are, it's a fine line, right? Because like obviously we're on social media. Obviously this is the way that we communicate. Sure. But I also, this isn't all we do, right?
Right. Exactly.
I'm not on my phone 24 hours a day. And I look at this and I think to myself, now I know why people have like social media managers and whatever, because really to be relevant, if you are not engaged for a good part of the week, you know what I mean? That's what, and the thing is, Mitch doesn't care about that at all. I mean, and so I'm like, did you do a video? And he'll be like, no, I didn't do one. And I'm like, you know what I mean? So, but I also get that he has to be, I'm like, you have to be passionate about it. And you know, I talked about this like with you. I was like, your flow is natural. Like you talk about what's important to you and to others, and that's what engages people, right? That's how you engage. That's how you and I engaged, and like we talk on the phone. Do you mean like I love that about Jen too, because she just doesn't like to text. She actually likes to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
And so that's I think it's important that we stay connected, and if we don't, I mean, this helps like both me and Mitch so much. I mean, like getting to know you, I feel like supported by you. I feel like we made a real connection, and it's not. And I am like you, like we're kind of like this, right? More so, like I said, more so than Mitch's. I mean, so that's my place. That's my place. I feel comfortable at arm's distance.
Right. Likewise. Same. Unless that's why this is a great platform to like. You can start to get to know people and feel out like, okay, I'm going to connect with this person, or you can feel, okay, this is going to be basically just an acquaintance on here.
Absolutely.
There's positions for everyone, and it's just a blessing to be able to connect in this way.
It is, and it's. I think too. What's hard is that in this world, right? You don't always. We're not always the best judges of character, and but this is an easy way, right? Because you're not going to get hurt by someone. Well, that's different in YouTube because people like to slander people, but you know what I mean? Like you're like, and I think it's at an arm's distance where I think that when you really make those connections with people, and that was what was really important to Mitch, was that Mitch was like, I would never do like a meet and greet. Like I like, no, he's like, that's just not him. I mean, he's like, I'll go hang out with someone and I will go like, meet them or whatever. And like, but I want to hang out with them. I just want to be like, oh, I'm going to shake your hand and let me sign this thing and like whatever. That is not him at all, right? So, but sometimes I was nervous too. Like I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Like right now, you want me to go where? And we've never met this person. Like, you know what I mean? So he's very much, yeah, let's go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm the one that's like you. Like, we're going where? How do you know this person?
Exactly.
How do you know they're not a psychopath? Or
exactly. I mean, you know what's crazy is like I was like I thought to myself, we were in East Los Angeles, and our motorcycle took a shit. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, all right. Well, I was like, if I was by myself, I'd be worried, but I was like, it was with Mitch. So I was like, whatever, you know what? It was fine. But the funny thing is, I used to be like nervous, where you don't live, but anywhere you don't live, you don't know the surroundings, like you just don't know. Right. And so one thing that is definitely as a beautiful thing as you get older is that I no longer really have a fear of that stuff. I mean, I don't have a fear so much of the unknown because I know most of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's like you think to yourself. I always tell my friends that are like, God, I'm like really worried about the situation. I go, then you know what you do is you think about the worst case scenario. What is the worst thing that can happen? And if you can work your way backwards from that, you'll know that it's not. It really once you get there. Because I think that's the way our brains work. But once you get there, you're like, oh, if that's
a great yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I could do that.
Backwards. I do that if I start to worry about shit or whatever a lot, and most of it's always surrounded around my job. And I always think to myself, okay, what is the worst thing? Okay, this is the worst. Okay.
Yeah.
Lakira said she went on a cruise and we didn't use our phones once. We were in international waters because of roaming. Yeah, I used my phone on a cruise, and that was a as Sue said, do you like this? We are getting insight on how girls communicate. Right? Like I just talked to Jen, like we're just chatting it up, and you guys are here just listening.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I feel like it is it literally Mitch is the size of a linebacker. Yeah, there's so that does that too. It does, I don't get worried in too many situations for sure. Yeah. It was funny though, like being they used to have, when Mitch was in prison, when I first met him, they used to literally have banquets. Like they would have like AA banquets. They would have like Seroptimus Club, whatever, Elks Club. They would put on these big ass barbecues. I could wear whatever I wanted. Mitch would walk out in a flannel and jeans and whatever. And it was a trip. And I was just like, oh my God.
Wow, really?
That's really
That's amazing.
It was a trip. And then when Mitch and I would stay when he was in San Quentin, your family visits were 3 days. 4 days, 3 nights.
Okay.
Then that wasn't heard of. Like it was 24 hours, right. 36 if you were really, But it was I mean, and for me too, like I was like, okay, I'm in San Quentin. I'm in San Quentin prison, and like I am, Mitch would have to get counted. We'd have to stay outside, and he was like, "We have to do this, like, whatever, 6 times a day or whatever." But looking at it from that, it was scary, but at the same time, it was fascinating. I mean, I was just like, "You guys all live in here, like, and you guys come from different walks of life, and I don't know."
That had to be a complete trip to be able to see it from that side.
It was weird. It was really weird. And then, what's funny is that I could always tell, like, the first week when he'd be out of prison, like, whether it was going to be great for him. And I know that sounds weird being great for him, but there would be sometimes Mitch would be like, man, I had a fucking good day. I made, like, these many airplanes. I worked and, I partied it up, like, whatever. And I think, but I would know within a week or so, whether it was a good place or a bad place. Yeah. And a lot of that had to do also with how they ran their visiting rooms. Like at Folsom was the worst. Like,
really?
Like it was so, I don't know. I was very used to like a non-sterile-ish environment. Like at Madrigal was really like a lot of outdoors you could go. There were trees everywhere. There was, grass, whatever. Then San Quentin was very like that greenish colored like glass, like the dual glass. And Mitch and I never had to visit behind glass. I never had to do that with him, but it just was like very insulated. And they had the stainless steel tables. And so it was just like, they didn't want your kids like being on one side. It was just weird. And they were kind of assholes there too. But it would, and it's the same thing, like you didn't know whether you were going to get in. Like I think I used to have to get there before 3 because they would count at 3.
Yeah.
And if you got there 2 minutes after, you could sit there until 5 o'clock and not see them. And you'd only get to see them for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, so, I think that's something that that anticipation of getting in, and if something goes wrong, it can like have you so stressed out.
That anxiety, right?
It's awful. Yeah. And then to think, like, sometimes even getting there and something might have popped off that morning and, they're on lockdown and turned away. I've been through that too.
Yeah. Like that was crazy. Like I would always, standing in line, I used to get out there like it's like early, like really early, like at 6.
Yeah.
Of course, at first, then I'd be like, I'm going to sleep in and I'll be there like at 9 or whatever. But it was like I would stand there and same thing. My anxiety would get, like I'd look up and if I saw this guard or that guard, I'd be like, cool, like I'm good. But if there was somebody I didn't know, if there was somebody I didn't, I'd be like, oh shit, like I don't know how this is going to go. And then, the other thing, it's like embarrassing, but true, is that when Mitch was in Vacaville, they would let you get, we would like make out and like whatever, and so like we'd stand out there, and they like one time.
Oh no! What? Tell me, I got to know.
So like, we always got like we never like we were obviously careful because they don't want you like kissing a long time or they don't want your bodies being too close, whatever. And then Mitch is going to kill me.
I know. That's why I'm
like. So we would be like, so this cop was walking by this, like I would see him walking by the window. It was hard. It was not like a 2-way, but it was like heavily like blacked out. So you couldn't always see. So I was always really careful about looking through that window to see if I could hug out. So literally he's like, okay, you guys separate, like whatever. So we're like, fine. So then like 5 minutes later, we're like, smooching again, whatever. And Mitch is hugging me. And then he's like, I told you guys like to knock it off or whatever. And so then like the third time he's all, that's it. Like you're out. And I was just like, oh my God. What? And it was funny. I felt like I was like with my, like at my, I felt like I got caught like behind the bleachers or something. I'd be like, what? Like I wasn't doing
right. Was it worth it though, Adrian? It was worth it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just like, I was like, oh my God. And I was mortified. Like I was so
Yeah,
embarrassed.
I'm
I was
sure.
so embarrassed. And I was just like, oh my God. And then like some people, one time we were on this visit with that back girl outside,
Mhm.
and there was a couple that was sitting next to us that were
Mhm.
actually, I'm just gonna say she was wearing a skirt, and she decided that she was gonna sit on his lap, and our daughter was on this visit with us, and we
Yeah.
were sitting outside, and Mitch was like, "What the fuck?" Like obviously he didn't want the cops paying attention to it, right? But at the
Sure.
same time, he was like, "Dude," he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. The dad in him is like,
Like
oh,
right here, like, are you, and obviously the guy didn't want to be interrupted, but he stopped.
yeah, I'm sure. Damn it.
I was
Yeah,
like, oh my God.
that's
Uh,
funny. Oh,
uh, apparently Businessman, the new show, took notes. He said himself, I don't have to be big or tough, just gotta make big friends, while pointing to Mitch.
right, right.
That's funny.
Hi,
Uh,
Muhammad. How are
yeah,
you?
it's some crazy,
Yeah.
crazy shit in there. But you know what? I'm just glad. I don't even know what that's like for,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know what that's like for people now. I just know that it was really, it sucked. It
Yeah.
sucked. I mean, being on the visit was great, but like having, you got to leave.
Mhm.
You don't know when we don't never know if they're going to get moved.
Anything can
If
happen.
you are like, they're going to go on lockdown, or
Yeah.
COVID happens, like
Mhm.
whatever. You just don't know. And the
Yeah.
anxiety, that's terrible.
Yeah, and I'm sure in your situation it was even deeper because that's your spouse. But didn't you feel like every time we leave, it almost takes you days to recover from that the downer
It
of
is.
leaving, you
I
know?
would get totally like, it's such a euphoria. Like before
Mhm.
we were going to go on a family visit. Like, it's just like this, you're excited to see them. Like, it's just, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then, you don't want to waste your last day there. Like, you obviously don't want to waste it, but you
Right.
can't help but know it's like impending doom, right? Like, Mitch has to go back in. I would
Mhm.
have to leave. I mean, and it was like, it was really, it was heavy. I mean, it was like we
Oh
would
yeah.
both try to make like the best of it, but
Sure.
it was just like, it's like a big dark cloud, whether you want, you would try
Yeah.
not to be. We try to make the best of it that last day, but it was really hard. It was hard.
I bet. I bet. Yeah. Most definitely.
You know,
Um,
but I wonder now, like for people like, I know people that don't ever get to see them, I mean, look at through COVID, a lot of people didn't even get to visit
it's
at all.
it's been a couple years. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Not
Somebody said
even.
they're
Yeah.
starting to let people. They are starting,
Hmm.
but they're gonna ride that till the wheels fall off.
Yeah. They're requiring all kinds of things, and yeah, yeah. It's
It's crazy.
it's crazy, but I mean, I think that's why just if you whatever you can do, just keep the letters going. If you can't be in touch with your loved one, make sure there's a line of communication
And
always.
the phone. What the one good thing is that I definitely think they have more access to like, um, like we were talking about, like the video calls and whatever. She didn't have none of that.
I know.
So
Mhm.
that's a good. Look at people don't even talk on the phone anymore because they text, right? So I think that's a good support. Now you don't have to. When Mitch and I used to talk on the phone, I just want people to get an idea of this. It costs $2.50 a minute.
How much?
$2.50, $2.50 a minute.
Holy.
So when I lived in Stockton and Mitch was in Tracy,
Mhm.
my phone bills averaged for a single mom $425 a month. So that's why Mitch would also send me money, obviously, is because it
Yeah,
was like,
to
uh,
counter that. Wow. Wow.
yeah, it just was,
God.
it was just,
You depend on those calls, right? Like if that's you live for those
you do,
moments. Yeah.
and so, and then, the thing is too, is that they would shut you off. I think it was like, I don't know, I'm going to say 3 minutes.
Yeah.
They would shut you off, and then he would call me back, and then he'd shut you off. And when they used to call collect, it
Mhm.
was like an initial like $3, and then every
Yeah.
minute after that was like 250 or
Oh,
whatever. one time I drove to Donovan to go see him, and I had one of those. That was when those portable phones first came out. My
Yeah.
friend gave me her phone.
Mhm.
I drove from Stockton to Donovan, which was about 11 hours. My phone bill was $1,700.
Oh my
It
God.
was
That's
crazy.
right. Wow.
Uh,
I think you outdid any of my phone bills.
yeah, that shit took me a lot. My friend was like, "What the?" I'm all, "Well, I guess I'm going to be indebted to you for like the rest of my life." And she told me, she's like, "When you're in the car, like you're going to notice that it's real easy for you to talk on the phone because you're bored."
It's just
And
passing
so
time
she's
too.
like,
Yeah.
just be careful of that. And I talked to my friend, and I don't even know how it got there, but I think I spent with one of my friends like 5 hours on the phone as I was driving.
Yeah. I could see that time passing. Yeah.
Yeah, she
I
was
could see
home,
her
like
doing
whatever.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
I never got to ask you, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was chaotic, but good. My son came down, so that was awesome.
Oh,
Flew in.
that's great.
And the baby was sick though, so it kind of, it was hard on them. You know how it is when you've got a sick
Yeah,
little one and you're at someone else's house.
if you're
It's
traveling to that.
family. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was good. I did something here at the house on actual Thanksgiving. Then the day after Thanksgiving, my mom did something at her house. So
Aw,
because my son's wife, my daughter-in-law, her grandparents live here too. So she was,
okay.
was able to go back and
Yeah.
forth.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we cooked. I cooked too. It was nice. It was good.
Mhm.
It was a nice thing.
Awesome. Aw, I'm
Well,
so
I think well, I know. Does anybody have anything burning that they want to know or
yeah.
can't help themselves? Christopher said
No,
Mitch had a lot of the decency in him to be upset over that, but not because Mitch stayed decent in spite of the place. Yeah,
yeah,
that wasn't an easy.
I'm sure. Are you getting the look? Oh my
Right now, maybe lose their humanity after years in there, especially if they were railroaded. Yeah, but you know what? He is not bitter. And he's not happy all the time. But you know what? He's a man. I mean,
God.
so
Right, right.
yeah. So it's just not Shoulder
Put
trucker
them
from Ryan.
together. Hi, Taylor.
That's awesome.
Put out. Yeah. Thank you.
Left lane. Thank you for this
Yes.
sticker.
That's what's up, left lane.
Thanks you guys. I know this is different, and I know the man of the hour wasn't on tonight, but I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys.
Yes, me too. This was cool. It was
Yeah,
fun.
it was good.
Yeah.
This is so if I was too chatty, you guys, sorry. I always get I don't do these very often, so it's weird for me still to do those. So
No, it was good. We had a lot of good topics. And we didn't have anything written down or anything, you guys. We're just talking literally. So
yeah, we didn't have a script.
in pre-convo. Yeah.
I hope you guys have a good weekend, and thanks for everybody who joined in. And if you haven't checked out Jen's channel, check her out. She's got a great channel. We love our sis Jen.
No, I love you too. I was gonna say I probably do have several personalities, but I was gonna say we love you too. I love you guys too.
Thanks, Approacher. Thanks, you guys. You guys have a good weekend.
Have a good night. We'll
Peace.
talk to you soon.
Okay, bye, guys.
Salvador.